You see the world differently because you don't just look, you truly perceive. There's a big difference between the two. Your eyes aren't just organs of sight, they're extensions of your soul, openings through which something deeper breathes into your everyday experience. To live as an empath is to live at the border between your inner world and the world's dream. You stand where light meets shadow, where joy becomes sorrow, where the line between I and you starts to dissolve. What empathy really is. Empathy isn't just sensitivity. It's not simply being a kind person. It's an ancient principle of connection that binds all living things together. When you feel another person's pain as your own, you're not absorbing their suffering. You're encountering your own shadow through the mirror of their existence. The world for an empath is like an ocean without shores. Most people build their house on solid ground, the ground of their own ego. But the empath drifts, sensing the tides of emotion, hearing the cries beneath words, feeling the invisible threads that hold everything together. This may look like fragility, but it's actually an ancient calling. Your consciousness has thinned enough for the light of the unconscious to seep through. The price of depth. You don't just live. You participate in existence. You're both actor and witness in the eternal drama of the soul. And yes, such depth demands a price. To perceive the unseen currents of others is to risk drowning in them. Here's the tension. Empathy dissolves boundaries. It says, we are. But individuation, becoming your true self, seeks to define boundaries. It says, I am. You live perpetually in this tension, between the call to merge and the call to separate. Too much merging, and you vanish into other people's emotions. Too much separation, and you lose the divine mirror through which your soul recognizes itself. What your feelings really mean. When you feel another person's sorrow, it's not an accident, it's an opportunity. That sorrow touches you because it reflects something within your own unconscious. You can only feel what is already awakened in you. So when you say, I am an empath, what you really mean is, I've become aware that my boundaries are permeable. The world lives within me as I live within it. This awareness can lead to suffering if you lack structure, but it can also lead to enlightenment if you learn to hold the opposites, to remain present in love without losing yourself in it. The ancient memory. Here's a secret. Empathy is not learned, it's remembered. It's the echo of a time before the ego was born, when all beings shared the same breath of creation. In dreams, this ancient memory returns. That's why other people's pain feels familiar, because it is. But to live constantly in this field is exhausting. You often retreat not from the world, but from the noise that drowns the whisper of truth. You crave solitude not because you dislike people, but because you must return to the center of yourself, to that sacred inner space where feeling becomes understanding. The wounded healer. Many empaths mistake compassion for compliance. They believe being kind means absorbing everything, forgiving endlessly, serving without rest. But compassion without awareness becomes self-destruction. Empathy must include discernment, the awareness that to feel is not to fix, to understand is not to surrender. You must ask, whose emotion is this? Whose suffering am I carrying? This is the archetype of the wounded healer. You carry the power to heal others through your own wounds. But you also carry the temptation to identify entirely with pain, to make suffering your entire mission. Many empaths unknowingly live as unconscious healers, compelled to restore balance in others while neglecting themselves. But healing is not martyrdom. It's a balance. From sponge to mirror, when you learn to feel without becoming, to witness without absorbing, to love without losing, then empathy transforms from curse to gift. You cease to be a sponge and become a mirror. You reflect truth rather than drowning in it. This transformation requires confronting the shadow. Every empathic soul carries a hidden counterpart, the suppressed desire not to feel. This shadow emerges as coldness, detachment, even cruelty. And it often shocks you when it appears in dreams or impulses. But this darkness is not evil. It's compensation. The psyche always seeks balance. To integrate this means accepting that you, too, have limits. Not every suffering is yours to hold. The empath who refuses to set boundaries becomes a vessel without a bottom. They pour themselves endlessly until nothing remains. The sacred practice. The universe does not require you to feel everything. It requires you to become conscious of what you feel and why. Close your eyes and imagine the world as a vast field of energy. Each person is a note in the symphony of being. When you enter a room, your soul senses the harmony or dissonance of those notes. This is not imagination, it's perception beyond the senses. But remember, the moment you identify with another person's note as your own, you lose your melody. You must hear the symphony, not become it. Boundaries as sacred vessels. Boundaries are not walls. They're the structure that allows empathy to express itself without collapse. Think of a chalice, a sacred cup that holds liquid without spilling. You must become such a vessel. The walls of the chalice don't reject the wine. They shape it. Many of you carry guilt for saying no, for withdrawing, for needing rest. But fatigue is not holiness. There is no virtue in depletion. Every time you choose to preserve your energy, you're not rejecting the world. You're maintaining the temple through which the world may heal. The awakened empath. As you evolve, empathy transforms into something quieter, wiser. You begin to feel everything, yet nothing overwhelms you. You sense the suffering of the world as a vast ocean, yet you stand at its shore, unafraid. This is the empath's enlightenment. Feeling without drowning and loving without losing. Seeing without judgment. You're not meant to fix the world. You're meant to feel it into awareness. You are the mirror through which the unconscious sees itself. And in that seeing, healing begins quietly, invisibly, inevitably. Coming home. Here's the most beautiful truth. Once you awaken fully, you realize that empathy was never about others at all. It was the self learning to recognize itself in disguise. Every emotion you ever felt, yours or another's, was a message from the totality calling you home. Home is not a place. Home is the awareness that contains it all. Home is the moment you stop fighting what you feel. The moment you finally say, I am both the wound and the healer, both the ocean and the shore, both the one who feels and the one who observes. In that moment, something ancient within you exhales. You understand that empathy was never meant to hurt you. It was meant to wake you. So let the world be as it is. Feel it, but don't drown in it. Stand in the center, as consciousness itself, feeling all, clinging to nothing. You are not too sensitive. You are exquisitely alive. You are not broken. You are open. You are not here to fix the world. You are here to love it into awareness. That is what it means to see the world from a different perspective. It is not a curse. It is the beginning of wisdom. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe, not just for more content, but to join a growing space where truth, healing, and self-discovery matter. This is Psyche Thera, and your journey is just beginning.